So mine has as the main subtitle the strange word that not everybody remembers or even has known, and one that is very often mixed up with a much more familiar term, samizdat, that's certainly much more researched and familiar, right? But tamizdat is a very different phenomenon, and that's why I kind of almost insist on using this word in the title of my class, because it has to do with the trafficking, right, of manuscripts, mainly during the Soviet era. So this is, of course, our main focus for 5 lectures that I will be giving, which will, of course, also include kind of discussion part, and it's not going to be just straight lecturing. Yeah, so it is about the migration and, in a sense, also deterritorialization of literature of the Soviet era. I will diversify more or less familiar, I guess, much more familiar cases with so-called Russian Tamizdat, be it Varlam Shalamov or Akhmatova, such big names. Those will be placed, contextualized alongside Ukrainian literary traditions, Georgian, Lithuanian, Polish, and Czech. Of course, we will only be able to afford so much attention, right, to each of these very separate phenomena, which, however, once those manuscripts do make it across or through what used to be referred to as the Iron Curtain, enter an alternate sort of different jurisdiction, not just geography, but jurisdiction and institutions, and in a sense do form kind of an alternative canon, right? Alternative to the Soviet one or to the Sovietized one, with Poland and the Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia. This class will also have a hands-on sort of practical component. So students will not only have access to archival materials, this time mostly digitized, and will get some experience in working with primary, most often yet still unpublished texts, whether it's just a transcription or a translation or annotation or commenting, like providing glossaries for certain abbreviations that editors would be using in private or editorial correspondence. So it is, in a sense, also about publishing. Publishing, of course, means making public. So it's not only about making public those manuscripts that had been deemed illegal and sort of denied official circulation, and only in a different jurisdiction would they become official, right? So it's very much about crossing that border between official and unofficial. Essentially, the whole course is about this border, about how it's being crossed, through what agents of cultural production it was done. But it's also about publishing or publicizing the legacy, right, of this enormous branch, let's say, or part or chapter of Russian, East European, and Eurasian literatures of the Soviet era. So we will be working on something that I hope kind of makes a difference. Still, it's still very much under-researched. And lastly, given the contemporary sort of literary, cultural, political, geographical, geopolitical situation, of course, the course would not be let's say, complete or even relevant, perhaps, today if we don't at least attempt to touch on what's happening today, given the internet, and yet giving those reenactments, right, of the Cold War era, of which Tamizdat of the Soviet period was essentially a product. So we will talk and perhaps do interviews, maybe, or at least use them with today's publishers of Russian Russophone, let's say, texts abroad, be it Medusa or be it Babel Books in Tel Aviv, or a few other publishing initiatives that have emerged in the past couple of years or so, or earlier. So yes, and the final thing is the course is based not just on my kind of own research. Yes, this is what I do, but it's also an extension of a bigger project, which is very much student-run and has had over 100 volunteers over the years. And of course, anyone who is interested would be able to continue being part of the Tamizdat project and kind of taking as much as you can from participating in such an initiative. So thank you, everybody, again, for putting this together, and wait.